Welcome to an episode of Just Cooking. I'm your host, Bassam Al-Alawi of Darsin Cafe at the National Museum, wishing you a blessed Ramadan. Hope you're spending time safe and sound with your families. What we're going to be cooking today is what I like to call a quarantine dish. Why? Because it was born out of a desperation to try and cook something while an individual is in quarantine. That individual was me. So, what we're going to do today, if you recall that carrot soup we made the other day and I told you to save some and keep it on the side, that's exactly what we're going to be using. I had some lying in the fridge and I decided it's a good idea for me to just use it somehow, right? And I used it in a braise, and I'll tell you what that is soon. But what I have here is a naked chicken. What I did basically to make this chicken a naked chicken is I pulled up all the skin. So what we're going to do is I've de-skinned the chicken. Oh, that's moving. And I'm gonna quarter it, right? And I'm gonna turn this into 8 nice consistent pieces, some off the bone, some on the bone, right? So what I'm gonna do very simply is the first thing is I'm gonna take off the thigh, right? And this is for those, look away, for those of you who are not into this kind of butchery, because it is not pleasant for those who love animals. I am very sorry. So what you're going to do is I've kind of pushed out this bone over here. I'm going to cut through it, right? So I can separate the thigh, there you go, from the carcass, right? From my nice de-skinned chicken. And I'm going to do the same thing to this side. You want to get this piece over here. This is called the oyster and it's delicious. It's a lot of meat and you don't want to waste that. You want that to go in the dish. And you cut through that. There you go. You've got your pieces here, and then we're going to do the breast. We're going to keep this wing on. What I did though was I cut off that extra bit on the side. You don't want that. You want to make that wing extra flexible. And you're going to cut through, and you're going to follow the breastbone right here, down the line, right? Slowly pushing away so that you can expose it and you can see what it looks like. And you want to kind of cut it away from that cartilage, right? You don't want that bone in the middle. This knife, of course, is not made for this kind of butchery, but you know, when in Rome, improvise, do whatever you have, make it work. And I'm just gonna like pull it away from this bone right here. So you don't want this. You can always save up this carcass, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I can use it for stock. I can use it for many, many things. Now, I found where the wing bone joins the breastbone, and I'm going to cut through that so I can separate this breast from the chicken. And now you have a perfect wing-on breastbone. And you want to leave the tenders. Some people remove them. I keep them. Why not? Why waste chicken, right? And I'm going to do the same thing to this other side here. So this dish was born out of necessity. There was a chicken lying around, there was some soup lying around, it was quarantine. Why not, right? And I do like a good braise. And braising is effectively cooking something in the oven, in a dish, with some liquid. That liquid kind of creates steam and tenderizes whatever you're cooking in it, right? It being the liquid. I'm gonna cut that up. I'm gonna follow this down, right? I'm gonna separate it from that bone right there, because we don't want that, like I said. You want to make this easy to eat. I love doing this if the sauce of the dish is kind of thick, dark, like a gravy, because you don't want bones that you can't see and you bite on it and your expensive veneers go to hell. You don't want that. So, now that I've found that bone I was talking about, where the wing, the shoulder, if you will, joins the breast, I'm going to cut through it. There we go. We have separated it. We've got beautiful pieces. These are 4 pieces. I told you we're gonna have 8 pieces. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this aside, right? And very simply, I'm gonna cut the breast in half, like so. There you go. And I'm gonna put it in this dish right here, because that's where I'm gonna be marinating all of this goodness. I do like chicken. It is so easy to make. And get a good, I mean, you can't get like free-range chicken over in Bahrain, unfortunately. But if you can find it, brilliant. Make sure it's hormone-free. Make sure it hasn't been through the ringer or abused. Now, to separate the leg from the main thigh, you have this little line here, this line of fat, and you're gonna cut through it because this line of fat. So I've got my chicken over here in this nice glass baking dish, right? Use whatever you like. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of my magical spoons that I hide everywhere, and I'm gonna start seasoning and marinating this chicken. Ideally though, you can do this, you can marinate this for a couple of hours, but if possible, do it like for 24 hours. So you get all those flavors penetrating the chicken, infusing all that meat with whatever you're putting with it, right? So initially, I'm gonna just put some salt. This is some pink Himalayan salt I'm using. Why? Because I'm fancy, right? We're gonna do that. And you don't wanna over season this with salt because if you remember, our soup also had seasoning, right? And I'm gonna use some white pepper. Again, white pepper because I don't want like chunks of dark bits showing in the chicken. I love the fact that when you marinate this chicken, right? It turns a nice yellow-orange color, especially after cooking and braising and all that carrot. It's really delicious. And so I've added the pepper, I've added the salt, and now I'm gonna add a bit of turmeric, right? Just for some color. And turmeric, I find, right, kind of takes away that chickeny flavor that not a lot of people like. People tend to wash the chicken. Don't wash the chicken, okay? All that bacteria is ending up in your sink, and then you're putting it on towels. It's getting everywhere. Why? If it's a good fresh chicken, you don't need to do that. The cooking process will kill any bacteria that you think might exist or reside on the flesh. All right, so I've added the turmeric, I've added the salt, the pepper. I'm gonna add the coriander because the carrot and coriander soup that we had also has that flavor, so we're mirroring that kind of. And that's what I thought when I kind of invented this, and it worked out beautifully. Coriander also goes really well with fish and chicken, kind of white meat. I have some ginger garlic paste, and what I'm gonna do is just drop that in there. Oh my God, that looks good already. Now, in addition, I'm gonna use some of that extra virgin olive oil. I'm not gonna use pumice for this. I need a bit of that olive oil flavor, right? Even though it's gonna go in the oven, there's a lot of liquid, so it's not gonna get real hot, right? So just a bit of olive oil for some lubricity, and for you to be able to get those spices in every crevice on the chicken, right? And this is the fun part. We're gonna just massage the chicken gently. None of us have been able to get a massage because of all the COVID-19. Lord knows we need it. But you do what you gotta do, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I think it might need some more turmeric. I want a bit of a yellow color, right? So I'm gonna do some of that, a little bit more, but not too much again, otherwise it's gonna be bitter. And turmeric is relatively strong, so it tends to overwhelm the dish, and you don't wanna do that, right? Okay, that looks phenomenal. Now, due to the magic of television, I've already prepared one of these in advance. I'm gonna take it out of the fridge and I'm gonna put it in the baking dish, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with that soup I told you to save, right? So we're back. I took my marinated chicken, the one I've been marinating for about 24 hours, and I have to tell you guys, it smells phenomenal. The garlic, the thyme, I actually added some thyme in here, all those spices. What I'm gonna do is pour all of this stuff, all this beautiful marinated chicken, in my baking dish. Reserving the herbs, leave that in there. They've absorbed enough water, they will not burn. And you can always take them out once you're done. So I've laid out all the chicken into the dish, and I tried to get it to have as much surface area as possible so that I get a nice browning effect during the braise. This is gonna go into the oven, but before that happens, do you remember that soup I told you to reserve? Well, let me just take off this glove. So do you remember that soup I told you to reserve when we made it a couple of days back? Or forwards, I don't know. So I've reserved some in the fridge, right? And I took it out, put it in this, and what I'm gonna do at this point, and I mean, bear with me, this is like radical here, right? I'm gonna pour it all over the chicken, right? And this is like a carrot-based soup, so you have all that beta-carotene orange goodness that's gonna like infuse in the chicken. It has natural sugars in it, so it gets to create a nice crust. However, it's very, very thick at the moment. So what I want is to thin it out a little bit with some water. So I'm gonna just pour in a bit of water, right? Just to give us some sauce, right? And I think that's more than enough. In fact, I probably went overboard. Just gonna give that a shake. Perfect. So there's enough water in the vessel to steam the chicken and cook down and create a very thick sauce and layer, right? And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a very obnoxiously loud piece of foil, cover it up, stick it in the oven, 200 degrees Celsius for 55 minutes. Halfway through, you're gonna take off the foil and you're gonna let it cook and bubble up and caramelize on top, right? So I got the obnoxious piece of foil. I'm doing my best not to make as much noise here, people, but I mean, it is foil. It's like, yeah, that's loud. Enjoy that. Some ASMR for you, all right? That should be okay. And now I'm gonna stick this in the oven in 25 minutes, uncover it, leave it in to cook, bring it back out, look at all this delicious goodness, garnish it with some, I don't know, coriander, and we're done. There we go. Let me put that in the oven for you. The oven is set already. It's been preheating. Make sure to preheat your oven, guys. It is very important. Make sure all those edges are tucked in, and into the oven we go. This is, unfortunately, a tiny oven, but we'll do our best. There we go. I'll see you in a bit when it's done and ready and delicious. So our chicken has been cooking in the oven for about 55 minutes to an hour, right? And I'm gonna take it out now, but I'm gonna be careful. When you open the oven door, you're gonna get a lot of steam. Keep in mind that this is a braise. So there's a lot of steam generated from all the liquids that we placed within the chicken or on the chicken to help it kind of cook evenly and super tender. Now, I'm gonna take it out of the oven carefully without killing myself or anybody in my near vicinity. You see that? Look at all that. But it smells so good though. I mean, happy days. Right. Take it out ever so slowly. This is really hot, guys. And I'm gonna gently lay it on top of this nice little towel I have here. There we go. So you'll notice there's a bit more liquid than I intended, but that's okay. When last I made this, everybody wanted a lot of the sauce and there wasn't enough of it. So I guess this time we kind of solved that problem, but we're not done yet. What we're gonna do now is take some very finely chopped coriander. For this, you want it to be as fine as possible. It's just there to add that a bit of freshness, right? And you can at this point taste it for its seasoning. If you feel like it needs more salt, you can add it now. We didn't add it earlier because it would have reduced. And if it had been, well salted then, reduced, it would be salty now. So now's a good time to have a taste and see what's up. But before I do so, I am going to sprinkle some beautiful coriander on top. And you see that carrot has formed like a crust on top of these chicken bits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my quarantine carrot braised chicken. Well, carrot soup braised chicken anyways. Look at that. Orange and the grain and it's like a party. I think we're done. Now, I gotta taste it though. And tell you if everything I told you was complete bull or based on reality. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut myself a piece of let's go for a piece of breast here. There we go. Oh, that looks so good, so tender. Almost like falls off the bone. All that steam has cooked it so well. That's good. That's good, y'all. And it's so tender. And I'm telling you, it's well seasoned. It's simple, but so satisfying. And that's my cue to tell you, this is the end of this episode, but just a quick reminder to stay grateful, stay blessed, stay safe, and have a blessed Ramadan. Thank you so much. Until next time.